Good morning, everyone. How are you today? Hola, Yoly. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Is everyone hearing the echo?
Let's see. Okay, I just put Yoly on mute for 1 second. You say that you hear me on an echo as well, Joanne? Not anymore. Okay. So let me see. Yoly, make sure that you just have one computer on our website. And I'm going to unmute you again. I still hear your echoes. Sometimes that happens if you have this website open, either on another computer or on a phone. So maybe just try closing all your screens except for just this one.
I think that's better, no? I don't hear your echo.
Perfect. Good morning, Angelia.
All right, well, let's kick this off. How many folks do we have online, Yai?
We have a couple. We have about 52 right now.
Fantastic. All right, well, welcome everyone to our March edition of the Latinistas Coffee Talk. I have my wonderful coffee here with me. Yai, I'm sure you do too, and hope you all are enjoying your nice warm cup of coffee. A few housekeeping items. Feel free, as you already are, using the side chat here, the sidebar. And feel free to communicate with us throughout the conversation. It's a very casual conversation, getting to know Yai, just a way to, connect with our community. So go ahead and give it a try by letting us know where are you joining us from. We'd love to know where you're joining us from. And in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself. So I met Yai at her Latinista brunch and official kickoff of the Latinista here in Chicago 2 years ago. And part of the reason of me attending was the desire to have that sense of community among Latina women. And I really felt that when I attended the Latinista brunch. So I've been staying connected and involved since, and I am really excited to see how much we're growing, as we continue to empower other women. I think that our power will continue to grow, and the amount of items and things that we will be able to accomplish as a group would be amazing. With that, I'd like to welcome Yai, the founder. And if you haven't heard her speak, she's a phenomenal speaker. And for the sake of our new members, Yai, why don't you share with us your story, your why of how Latinista came to fruition?
Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much, Yoly. It looks like Chicago, your hometown, is representing. I love all the chats. Look at them. And I see New Jersey too. I'm a Jersey girl. Hi, everyone. So as Yoly mentioned, I'm the founder of the Latinista. I founded the organization in 2012. And so it's been quite some time now. It's been 8 wonderful years. I started it really because I noticed that when I was in corporate America, there was a need for tools and resources, mentorship, and opportunity for the women that were surrounding me in my community, whether it was my friends or my professional colleagues. I was very grateful and had the opportunity to attend a lot of corporate conferences that were helping me figure out my career. And so I got to attend professional development workshops that were teaching me things like how to be a confident public speaker, how to delegate your work, how to become a leader. Sometimes we receive a promotion and we get people that we now have to manage aside from interns, but no one ever really necessarily gives us a roadmap or an agenda to follow when leading a team. And I was just getting so much great insight when it came to my leadership development that when I came back home or I was around my community and I asked the women around me, hey, why didn't you attend that event or that conference? I didn't see you at that Bloomberg event, or how was that conversation at Bank of America? a lot of them were just simply not in the know. They had no idea that these resources and events were even available. And I live in a pretty dense community here in New York City and New Jersey. There is so much going on. There are so many networking events and access to resources and people and mentors that, frankly, I was just surprised. And so the Latinista started off very casually. We started on meetup.com. For those of you who know Meetup, it's basically a website platform in which you can create a community. And so I decided to create a community for Latinas and women of color. And we were going to get together and help each other with our careers. And that had everything to do with how to get a new job, how to interview well, how to write out your resume so that it appeals to your next recruiter or headhunter. And so, yeah, it really just started at a restaurant. And then as the months went by, people started saying, hey, Jai, you should really think about making this more structured because we want to get together every month. And I was like, ooh, that's a lot of work. Oh, gosh. And so I started thinking, what do I have to do to make this successful? So I started finding venues that could actually offer us their free space so that we could meet, bring our laptops. And then I started sourcing subject matter experts, people that could come in and teach us something new, whether it was a new technical skill, whether it was a soft skill, and just simply developing a content calendar and then asking the women, what is it that you're interested in learning? Why haven't you been able to get a promotion or a salary increase? What do you think is stopping you? And that's literally how we've built our entire calendar for the last 8 years. And so that's how Latinista started. Aside from that, 2 years ago, yeah. I can't believe that it's been 8 years. It's been quite some time of consistent.
And I can't say how often we've even ourselves that are in corporate America, right, that are working in corporate America, where it happened to me many times where, you know, oh, the organization I'm working for is sponsoring some Latino event and I had no idea. And it's like, okay, who's going to these events and why are the Latino segment at this organization being included? So I definitely agree with you on you know, the lack of awareness and building that community within us, because it wasn't even happening, even though they were throwing money at these programs, but there was no added value for those that actually mattered, which was the Latino segment.
Absolutely. And, you know, for some time, I used the Meetup platform to be able to say, hey, everyone, send me all of the events that are important for our community. And I'm going to put them up on the Meetup. I perhaps can't attend all of them, but I want to make sure that our Meetup page has all of these events so that if you do find yourself available and you want to develop your professional career, you can go on our website, our meetup.com, and say, oh, there's a professional development workshop for the Financial Women's Association that's happening. Jai won't be there, but I'm going to go. So it became the place to go that you can work on your professional development. It started in New York City. Now we have Chicago, which is an incredible chapter that you're part of. And you guys just hosted a Galentine's Day brunch, which I hope you can tell us a little bit about. And I see right behind you a picture from that day.
Yes, let me zoom in case anybody. Argelia was kind enough to gift this to me for my birthday, and I love it. And so, of course, I thought it'd be appropriate to showcase it. So the Valentine's brunch was just, you know, it's Valentine's, and it's, you know, often I don't think we pay as much. We're not as focused on self-love, self-care. And the Galentine's brunch was just an idea like, hey, let's get a bunch of us together and have this conversation and talk about items we don't normally talk about, regardless what it is. We did have a keynote speaker at the event, and she helped us, you know, shed some light on mental health. There's a lot of stigma around mental health, and we celebrated the gift of giving as well, right? We exchanged gifts, brunch, casual conversation, and just to see women from different walks of life and different careers come together and just connect and build community was amazing. And I see a few individuals on the side chat that attended, so feel free to drop a line or two of if you want to add more to it. But yeah, it was a great event, and I just think that there's a lot of power in us coming together and just continuing to celebrate each other.
That was
So thank you.
wonderful. I actually see Lupita there in the chat, who's the
Yeah.
mental health professional you guys had as a keynote speaker.
Yeah. Hi, Lupita.
She's
Yeah.
awesome.
So moving on to, the extraordinary times that we are facing today, right? We all, are really having to think outside the box and change the way we're working, especially, like yourself, an entrepreneur. The COVID-19 or coronavirus, as some of you may know it, is really impacting our communities. We all know firsthand, especially for our Latino community, we're built of independent contractors, independent, housekeepers, mom and pop shops. So just trying to have this conversation of how you as an entrepreneur yourself, how is this impacting you and what has it done for you? And is there any, words of advice that you would share with individuals that are experiencing the hardship? Some of us are, I think, have been blessed to not really have to endure what some of individuals like yourself are enduring, but I'm sure that there are things that we can do to help others.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So 2 years ago, I actually decided to leave corporate America. I had been in corporate America for almost 16 years. I was doing diversity marketing and strategy at a large insurance company. And I decided to go out on my own as a consultant because I saw that there was a space and a need for services like mine. So I wanted to dedicate myself 100% to Latinista and developing these workshops on a larger scale so that it also wouldn't compete with my full-time job. As you know, pulling these events together on a weeknight and even on a weekend, it takes months of planning. And I just knew that the impact that I was having on the Latinista community was so much more significant than the impact I was having at some big organization or company and the limited amount of scope that I had there. And so I decided to do Latinista full time and really embed myself in the community and say, I have this great network of incredible individuals that want to support and have their own organizations like Elvest, like the Financial Gym, like Fairy Godboss, like General Assembly, like so many organizations, Skill Crush. We have so many incredible partnerships. Evolve Her at Chicago has done so much for us when it comes to lending us their space and lending us their talents. I started saying, you know what, I want to develop some official partnerships with these organizations and be able to build something consistently and deeper. And then also I started doing diversity as a consultant. And so what I do now is I develop and deliver diversity, inclusion, unconscious bias, equity, equality workshops for employee resource groups. And so the challenge for the Latinista group that I've seen now because of Corona is obviously the fact that all of our events were people and in-person based every single month. And so now the fact that we're not allowed to meet in person really threw us for a loop. And so overnight, I purchased Crowdcast and I said, okay, now our workshops need to be online. Of course, that's a huge challenge because everything that we were built on was the fact that we would bring subject matter experts into a room to teach us with our laptops one-on-one how to either be a confident public speaker or how to invest in the stock market or how to develop a budget or how to rewrite your resume. Doing an elevator pitch, doing role play is so difficult online. But we're trying, right? And so this week we actually hosted our first webinar with Alex Tavar. She's one of the subject matter experts that taught me how to use Trello, a project management tool that has completely changed the way that I've been productive and efficient on a personal and a professional life. And so it's challenging because, to tell you the truth, when we started that workshop and that webinar, the website crashed for 24 minutes because now everyone is working from home. And no matter if you have FiOS or not, it's just been challenging because of the traffic and the amount of people that are working from home. And so we've just had to breathe in and breathe out and just see how this works out. So the Latinista is chugging along. I would love for you all to type in the chat and let us know what you're a subject matter expert on that perhaps you'd love to host a webinar for us in this type of manner. Let us know if you're a mental health professional, if you're excellent at using Canva. I'm personally a LinkedIn ninja. I've been teaching on LinkedIn for 11 years now. So share with us what you'd love to hopefully teach us a webinar on in the coming future.
Ooh, I see career development topics. That's always a great one. And, you know, what are your thoughts, Yai, on, you know, career development in these times where we can't meet face to face? You know, my job, you know, as a real estate services professional, I rely greatly on the interaction in person. Like so for me, even for me, this has been a complete change. I'm trying to adjust. I think I need to be a little bit more intentional. This week I'm on spring break from my MBA, and so I've been kind of lazy, like, oh, I'll start next week because, you know, I'm on spring break. But any tips on how to stay focused or not get distracted? And also, you know, for those of us that are interested in continuing to move our career forward, how do we do it, you know, virtually?
Yeah. And you know, so that's actually a great question because the type of work that I do with my diversity practice, most of it is for employee resource groups. And what we do first is we develop a survey, a complete baseline assessment of where we are right now in our careers. What do we need to learn to take our next step and what's going to get us promoted? And because of the fact that we've now all turned to work from home, every single workshop that I had slated for all of my corporate clients has been postponed indefinitely because their number one priority right now is we need laptops for all of our workers and we need to just get into the rhythm of working from home first before we focus again on our ERG and business resource programming, which is a challenge for me professionally because that's how I make my money, right? Developing and executing these workshops. And then number two, for all of you that are within an organization that are not focusing on your career professional development aspirations and blueprint. So something that I've seen work really, really well is making sure that you now seek out some webinars. There's so many free webinars on some very important tools that are going to keep you on track. And so for me, that's Trello. I don't know if you use Trello, Yoly. Do you use Trello or Asana?
Actually, it was introduced to me through, you know, I'm also on the board of Prospanica Chicago, and I oversee the summer enrichment program. And it was introduced to me, but I feel like I'm constantly bombarded with new programs. And I just like pushed it to the side. Like, look, I have my rhythm already. I'm just going to move forward. But I would like to, I'm going to give it a try. If it's got your support, you can.
Oh my gosh, it's incredible. It's wonderful. It's really turned my life around. And for those of you who haven't used it, it's literally like taking your notebooks and every post-it note that you have and putting it on a website. And it's wonderful because it has certain verticals. So my first vertical, like many people, is your to-do list. And the next little bucket or vertical is, what do I need to do next to complete this one article? What's been completed? What are my bills? How about maybe any links or pictures or attachments that you don't want to lose track of? So it's really just an extensive to-do list, but it has timers and it integrates also with your Google or Outlook calendar. It's fascinating and it's free. And so every time I have a conversation with someone, I'll pull up my Trello and I'll say, I'm having a conversation with Yoly on this date. These are my to-do items. This is what's next, and this is what I promised her. And then the next time you give me a call, I'll pull up that same tab so I don't have to look for my emails. I don't have to remember. Everything is just in one place. And that has changed my life around. And what's great about that is it keeps you on track with your project items. Another thing that I've been seeing is some of the partners that we have, like Fairy God Boss, has tons of free webinars on how to update your resume, how to articulate who you are when it comes to your specific tech skills, your upbringing, your background. So if you haven't heard of Fairy God Boss, I'm actually going to type it down here so that you know how it's spelled. Fairy God Boss is an incredible platform.
I attended a women's history event earlier before we got locked down, and I shared it with my daughter, who is a recent graduate, and she's struggling to find a job. So, I've been trying to help her, but with the coronavirus now, it's definitely throwing a wrench in her job search. So, definitely that's a good one, and there's a few other ones.
Yeah, there are so many great partners that are putting on all of these amazing webinars where you can learn new tech skills. I mean, I'm huge on learning on LinkedIn. They have free videos where you can literally start teaching yourself how to use Canva. Canva is also a very popular one. It's basically the graphic design website for people who aren't graphic designers. So if you saw our invitation and the graphic that was up before you all joined, Jenny Monson, who's our creative graphic designer at the Latinista, she put that together in a matter of moments because she actually bases it off of a template. And we have our specific color codes for each of our chapters, and Canva is free. And so to make sure that you continue your upskilling when it comes to your career, I definitely suggest you reach out to Fairy God Boss. You learn how to use Trello, you learn how to use Canva. I live and die by my Google Drive. I keep everything on there, everything from my headshots, my different various bios, everything for our Latinista chapters, all of my finances for my accountant to track, because the less conversations and the less text messaging or WhatsApp we can do, the more efficient you are with your time. And I love that.
Right. I will say another thing is that I see Mona shared what DePaul is offering, but Yale was offering a free class. So of course I registered. I have all the time in the world, okay, but now I feel obligated to do the course. What is it called? It's about how to be happy. The Science of Happiness. And then I saw another one that Harvard is offering as well on negotiation. So I'm seeing a lot of these schools offering, now that they've gone online, but these classes are free. So you're looking to up your skills, because I think with during these extraordinary times, we are really going to have to up our skills more than ever. So just so you know. Oh, and I see Argelia suggesting the wellness class at Yale. So a lot of free resources out there that I'd say, take advantage. Definitely take advantage, and let's continue to move together. Do we want to go through some of the other comments? I see a lot of good stuff. There was one that I saw, I think it was Luisa Mendoza, who just said that she just beat COVID.
Let's see.
She says she just beat COVID-19, and the reflection she's had after being quarantined for 14 days is something that gave her new meaning to life and put things in perspective. Luisa, thank you for sharing.
We're
It,
so glad that you're doing well. My goodness, you're so strong. Thank you for being here.
yeah,
Wow.
absolutely. And here are some more.
While you're doing that, I'm actually going to look for the link of the Yale classes as well as the other Ivy League courses that are free online. There's an entire website of free marketing classes, humanities classes. So I'm going to look at that link right now that I sent my friends recently.
I see a lot of interest in future coffee talks or workshops, business development, of course, salary negotiations. Um, we in Chicago have had a few coffee talks. I believe it was last year that was around salary negotiations. And we did hear feedback. A few of our attendees went back and negotiated and was very successful. I think as Latinas and our culture does not teach us to ask for money, and we're always just happy to be at the table and have the job, but it really, we need to start evaluating our worth and taking a closer look. We shouldn't just settle. We should definitely. There are also a lot of resources on how to analyze your career, which I can share at a later date. I'd have to dig. I took a human capital class as I'm working through my MBA program, and that really helped me take a step back and look at my career, what individuals are doing just within my 5 mile radius market, and look at the state, like if all the official recordings and data of what they have, and made me realize, like, oh my goodness, if I were a white man, I would making double. Like, and so that also led me to make a few changes in my career as of this new year. But I think that as we continue to support and have conversations around salary negotiations and career development, I really hope to see that we're able to continue to elevate our community.
Absolutely. And the wonderful thing about the internet is that you can find so many resources when it comes to learning how to advocate for yourself and demanding equal pay, or at least understanding what the industry norm is for your particular role and your particular industry. And, I speak a lot about financial literacy and understanding how to be of equal pay. And one of the things that frustrates me so much is that women still see it as very taboo to talk about their salary and what they're making. And what I've seen amongst my personal friends and amongst many of our Latinistas over the last 8 years is that they're not sharing how much they make and what their aspirations are, or what their technical knowledge and experience and their background and all of their gathered diverse upbringing builds them up to. And so it's funny because sometimes I'm like, oh, you just applied for a new opportunity. How much are you making right now? And what are they offering? And what are the benefits? And how is the 401k? And let's talk about the equity. And they're like, oh my goodness, you can see right away that they're like, oh my God, she just asked me how much I'm making and how much I'm asking for. And I'm like, look, I have nothing to gain from this. I want to help you because I was a recruiter for so many years. I was in corporate America for so many years. I know these companies have such a huge budget. And I just want to know what your technical knowledge and experience and your certifications and your degrees add up to, so that I can help you articulate who you are in the best way possible. Like you say, so many people are just thankful and humble, put their heads down and feel like somebody will notice one day. Oh, somebody will give me what I deserve one day. But most of the time, you don't even know what you should ask for or what you deserve or your other colleague is making. At my last corporate job, I used to go around to every one of my colleagues that had the same job, and I'd be like, hey, you have the same job as me here in New Jersey. How much are you making? I was appalled that my colleague that lived 20 blocks away from me, who, yes, started 2 years after me, was making about $40,000 less than me. And I was just like, wait a minute, oh my goodness. And we actually went to the same school. I went to a fashion school in New York City. So it's not like I had a finance degree. I was working in a huge financial institution, but I was appalled by what they were paying her. And I told her, and she was like, oh my goodness, but how is this possible? Maybe I don't have the same experience. I'm like, look, if I came from a fashion school and so did you, and I studied marketing just like you did, no, no way. And it was just so many of these honest conversations lead to a better understanding, at least, of what the company is capable of giving you and what you should be understanding about yourself when it comes to your certifications, your degrees, what you've learned, how to position yourself. And you know what? Sometimes I coach people, if you're so far away from what you want to make and you've had so many conversations with your manager and they're still not giving you what you are asking for or the resources to be able to get there to teach yourself, then maybe you should just go to another organization. Maybe it's time to pull the plug. Can't tell you how many times I changed companies and made $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 more immediately as I changed.
Yeah, I
just changed jobs recently.
I know. I was just going to say that. I don't know if I shared with you that, after I did that human capital class, I realized like, oh my God, I'm so undervalued. I'm so underpaid at this organization. And I went in prepared with the data, et cetera, and said, hey. And then at that point, my immediate boss, who was a Latina, left because she's had it. And, we're in real estate and in real estate, it's a very white male dominated field. I know that there are a lot of industries the same, but in real estate development, you have deals happening at the bar, right? And we're not being included. But I went in and had the conversation and, it was like, oh, well, there's no money, no money. And I really think that they thought that I wasn't going anywhere. They were very, very confident that, yes, they were good to me. They were nice to me. Like I went in there and I felt comfortable, and that's also, a scary part, right? Because we do get comfortable and we try to be happy with, I'm comfortable, so that's okay, right? But not when I resigned at the beginning of the new year. I returned from my holiday and that all of a sudden 50, 60 grand show up at the table. Like, we can't lose you. And it's like, wow.
Like, oh, now you found the budget. Oh, how interesting. Oh, it's going to take you how much to find someone and retrain them and replace me?
Yeah. And when I submitted my resignation, it was, by the time I got in front of them, it was like 5:30, 6 p.m. By 9 a.m. the next day, they had the first counter offer at the table. And I was just like, it was like going through a divorce because they didn't announce it. I gave them 2 weeks notice. They didn't announce it till the day before.
And you were there for how many years?
17 years.
17 years.
I mean, I had different roles, but yeah, it was. And while those around me were like, "Oh my God, you should be flattered," and it's not flattering. As a Latina, it's not flattering. Like, not until you see that I'm ready to walk out the door, this money appears. Like, you were lying to me. You were saying, "Oh no, there's no way we can afford that," or whatever the reason. Like how am I flattered? It was nauseating to me, and it took an emotional toll on me. I am not flattered, and it just made me realize, like, oh my God,
and sometimes you're like, oh my goodness, I could have done this like 10 years ago.
I'm already planning my next move. No.
Yeah. And sometimes when you're already so invested in your next move and you're excited and you can start from a new set of standards for yourself, and to be able to start a whole new almost lifestyle is wonderful. And I'm sure that it was challenging for you to receive that counteroffer. It's kind of like you said, it's almost like a divorce. You walk away and you're like, oh, now you want to be the person or the organization that I should look to again.
Right. And And one of the things that were said to me was, you're making a big mistake. You were in so many succession plans. You were on the list for, because the banking industry does not have Latinos in C-suite levels. So then, and they knew that that was something I was very passionate about. I was on the national chair for their ERG, the Latino ERG. So I was very passionate about elevating the Latinos within the organization. It's a, cross-country organization, Canada and the US. And so there was a lot that I had done for them outside of my regular role. And and for them to come to me and say, well, it's a big mistake because you were on many succession plans and you were next to get the next, executive role. It was not great. And then my manager, when I resigned, the other thing he told me, and it just brought so much awareness of things that you hear happened, and you just don't want to believe it, right? So we were having the conversation, and he was like, "Oh, you're almost done with your MBA, etc." And he's like, "When you graduate, you're gonna realize it was the biggest waste of your time." And
I thought he was going to say when you graduate, that's when we can actually give you more money.
no. And I said, well, coming from a white male guy that was transposed into Chicago from Boston, yeah, I would believe it was a waste of your time, because it wasn't about what you knew, it was who you knew.
That's true.
But unfortunately, for a Latina, I know that the MBA has a lot of value for me.
You have to work twice as hard sometimes.
Absolutely, but yeah, it was just it's there's a lot that we still gotta work through, but also not be silenced, not allow us to be silenced about it, and just shed light, and how can we help you, and how, I feel like my experience allows me to talk to others about it, and let's say, guide them. Like, hey, be prepared. This is what you want to do. This is what may happen, and be emotionally prepared.
Oh
Be
my
prepared
gosh.
with the data, and be ready for what it is that you're asking for. And I think it will definitely be good.
I love that. You guys that are listening right now, tell us if you would love Yoly to do a webinar or a conversation, perhaps on just transitioning to a new role or to a new job, what those emotional preparedness situations even look like. Yoly, would you be interested in doing something like that to help people understand how to tell your boss that you're moving on, understand how to read an offer letter, understand what your negotiating characteristics are even like, and how to do that? Would you guys be interested in hearing from her? Because it's challenging. I mean, when is the right time to tell them you're getting your March bonus in a couple of weeks? When do you pull the plug? Maybe you ask for a sign-on bonus. What are the offer letter benefits, 401k, equity, pension, things that you should talk about? I don't know. Would you be interested in helping us have those conversations?
Absolutely. And if there's anybody else in our audience that, has stories to share, right? We all have a story to tell. So would absolutely love to share the platform with anybody else.
Yeah, especially since it's so fresh in your mind. A lot of people have never been through a transition like this. They don't know how to articulate or have those conversations. I've actually made quite a few career changes, but every time it's so emotional, and you're like, oh my goodness. I actually have a personal board of directors, so a number of people that help me make these big decisions. But like you said, it's so emotional. You find yourself like crying, and you're like, oh my God, and my mortgage, and my lifestyle, and is it the right thing to do, and should I stay at this company because I'm vested in the 401k, and oh my God, my pension, and oh my gosh, my boss is going to be so upset, and and then when you leave the organization, you don't even talk to these people, and your boss has forgotten your name, and then you find out who your real friends are.
I think in most cases, yes, but I was telling my husband, I'm like, oh my God, my boss, the MBA guy, he's been checking up on me. Like, hey, how are you doing? He did say though, he was like, look, I'm gonna revamp the job roles and do this, etc. And I'm coming after you. So I was like, yeah, you do that. Like when he could find the budget, but I just think it's funny, like he's constantly checking up on me, like, hey, how are you doing? Blah blah blah. And I'm getting a kick out of it. Like, yes, keep it up. I
I
ain't going
love that. That is hilarious. That's
yeah.
hilarious. And a lot of people, I know that one of our Latinistas recently started a new position, and she was so torn because she had developed such a great relationship with her colleagues. She was like, I don't want to leave them. They're going to be so disappointed in me. My goodness, my boss and I have been through so much, and I've certainly felt that way so many times. But then when you leave, you're like, what? If my boss wants to see me be successful, and there isn't an opportunity here for me to be successful, then whatever it is that they want for me is going to be out there, and they just want to see me happy.
Yeah.
So I'm so glad that you decided to make that move. I saw it when you announced it, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is huge.
Yeah, it was huge. I will say though that I did walk away with a big network. And one thing that we had started to do at the organization was there were a lot of us Black and brown individuals that were really trying to move what they called the people of color strategy forward. And we just came such a community within the organization that we started brunches outside of the organization on Sundays. A lot of, whether it was females or sometimes with a few men would join us. And that is still there.
I love that.
We're still in contact. We are all, understand that both the Black and brown segments are struggling when it comes to corporate America. So even just getting together to do like a book club and have conversations, etc., it's really resourceful for all of us, And so, so I saw it as, oh, I'm not walking away and losing anything. I'm actually gaining. I'm gaining a network that's going to continue with me. There were a few individuals that said, you have such a big brand with the organization because how active I was with the ERG. And they're like, you're going to lose your brand and you're going to have to start all over. And it's like, I had my doubts. And then, once I walked away and, when people learned where I went, I had people from the organization where I was at introducing me to senior leaders at the new organization, like, oh my God, you're gonna meet her. And it just, the network continues to grow. So yeah, don't drink the Kool-Aid. Don't believe it.
I love that. And just like you said, I mean, you still carry your brand, and people will talk about you because obviously you're still in the same industry. And I think the beautiful thing about that is that now you can position yourself in a new light at your new organization and tell them about all of the incredible things you did for your previous org at the ERG. You have it on your resume and your LinkedIn, and you can speak from experience, and you can say, I'd love to be an executive sponsor of the ERG now, and not just the person who does everything for the ERG.
Right. Why don't anybody in the audience have any questions for Yai or myself that we can help answer, or how can we help support you during these extraordinary times? How are you doing it? How are you doing? Or what are you doing to manage during these times that maybe we can take note of?
Yeah, share with us how we can support you. Ask us anything. I know that myself personally, I've been supporting my small businesses in the area. I live in a small town in New Jersey called Union City, right next to Hoboken, which is now the epicenter of the New York City area, unfortunately. But I've been going out and supporting the small businesses and ordering from my Mediterranean restaurants, my Mexican restaurants, my Chinese restaurants, and picking up my food because I know all of these people that open these businesses. I've been here for 10 years, and it's important for me to make sure that they don't close. These are businesses that I've supported, my local gym. unfortunately, but now they're streaming their classes online. And so we're trying to figure out how we can still give them money so that when we come out of this, we still have a community to go to down the block. And so I've been spending as much as I can to give back. We've got to keep the economy going. So what can we answer for you all? Yoly has an incredible amount of experience in so many different aspects, especially with being on the board of Prospanica as well.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Bayonne, that's right next to me. Hi, Bayonne. So let's see. Rita says, is there a right time to ask for a promotion during COVID? How long should we wait before starting the discussion about how to get promoted? What do you think, Yoly, since you have so much corporate experience?
I would say there isn't a bad time as far if the timing is right for you. My biggest advice would be prepared. Do your homework. Don't come to the table and want to ask for a promotion without being prepared. I think when you come prepared, you've done your homework. If there's a different position that you want, a different role, do your homework on that role. What does it require? What do you offer? If there's any skills that you lack, what are you going to do to make sure that you meet and are qualified for those roles? Again, we don't have to check every single box, but once you come to the table prepared and show that you've done your research and your homework, you're really making it very hard for them to say no otherwise. And if they do say no, I think that you're gonna put that little doubt in them, like, hey, we have a great employee here and we're probably gonna lose her.
That's a great thing. I agree. And I love that you said be prepared. I think that you should do a self-assessment, right? It falls right in line with be prepared and be able to say, hey, boss, over the last year, I've accomplished this project from A to Z. I attended this conference. I managed an intern with an employee, or I managed our intern successfully, and now I think I'd love to be a people manager. And this is why I believe that the executive vice president role that I'm going for is a right fit for me. Some of the things that I know I need to work on still are X, Y, and Z, and this new role is going to help me get there. But just come to the table knowing, like, I did this, and that over the last year, which you told me I needed to work on. I checked off those boxes. Now I'm here asking for that promotion, right? And if they say you still didn't do 1 and 2, take that to heart. Is it true? Or you're like, okay, I'll do 1 and 2 over the next 3 months, and then I'll be back for the same conversation. And if they still say that you haven't accomplished it, right, you have to be very honest with yourself or realize that they're never going to promote you and just go.
Yeah, I'm looking at the side chat.
Yeah, keeping a routine and a schedule has been helpful. However, potential clients all backed out because they're afraid to spend an expense like coaching. Yes. Working on a different marketing strategy, but any tips to get through this? COVID has crippled my business. A lot of opportunity have switched to online. Ah, right. So Lupita is a mental health professional and a coach. So I can certainly speak on that because I'm also a consultant where all of the workshops I do were in person, and all of my corporate clients have postponed my workshops indefinitely because they have bigger responsibilities and priorities right now when it comes to their day-to-day business. All of my workshops for them have transitioned to now webinar proposals. I've also proposed to going into their offices because they still are open and just streaming with one other person so that I can make sure that the technology is still accurate. So Lupita, I hear you and I feel for you because I'm going through the same exact thing with saying, oh my goodness, my clients are now talking about Hispanic Heritage Month, September. Thankfully I have a financial coach and a plan to keep me afloat until then, but it's being able to switch to technology and just hoping that you know all of the technology tools that are going to help you be an effective online coach now. And yeah, a lot of people don't see these types of workshops that I do in diversity or mental health, like you do, Lupita, as priorities right now.
Mhm.
So that's a challenge, but we still, as employees like you, Yoly, and a lot of people here, have to keep pushing these organizations and saying, hey, we know that diversity has taken a fall fight by the wayside, but I still want to continue with my career development. What's next? We kind of forgot about Women's History Month here in March. Pride
Yeah.
Month is coming up, and our career still needs to be developed. So we demand you bring in these subject matter experts to help us continue with that. But
Mhm.
it's going to be hard. And I'm blessed because I can do this, and I have so many tools and resources and knowledge and experts and coaches and a financial background to be able to help me through this. But there's so many people suffering right now. I mean, we heard yesterday 3.3 million people just filed for unemployment. And by July, it's going to be 14 million. I mean,
Yeah.
this is insane.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to shout out to Joanne for giving all her tips and pointers on the side chat. Love it.
Yes, Joanne, thank you. This is awesome. Let's see what Ilda says. Ilda says, how do you manage your professional career, board commitments, and family? Yoly, that is definitely for you because you are a mother, you are a corporate professional, you have so many roles aside from what you do. How do you do it?
Well, let me start by saying, growing up as the only girl, in my household of six, like I don't know how to not be busy, right? Like I had to find ways to keep myself busy. So I think that's where my being involved in so many things and also my passion, right? Like rooted in my own experience, I'm definitely passionate about education in our communities, which are very underserved, and also closing that generational gap. Um, so going back to Isla, I think that it's really sticking to a schedule. I live by my calendars, and my personal calendar is synced with my work calendar. Like and any invite that I have on my work schedule, I send it to my personal, and I need to keep them synced. The lines between work and personal life are becoming very blurred, right? So keeping them, I need to work on one calendar. There's no way I can have two or multiple. The other thing with board commitments is wherever possible, try to include your family. I attend networking events. Many of you, from Chicago have met my husband, have met my kids, my daughter, and wherever possible, I would say it's very impactful for you to include them, not only for a learning lesson or a learning opportunity for them, but also I think when your children are able to witness your hard work and your commitment, they pick up on that. And you hope that, our focus as parents is to raise adults, right? So let's treat them as such and bring them along the ride, and hopefully, it'll 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 contribute to our own parenting. And if
That
anybody has additional tips, because by all means, I am not a perfect parent or wife, I'm sure. And we all have our little faults, but share with us.
Yeah, and Yoly, I have to give it to you. You are so not only accomplished in so many rights with your corporate role and your family role, and when you talk to me about your daughter and what she's accomplished, I'm like, my goodness, what am I doing every day, right? And you juggling it all, like Joanne mentions, some of us have different styles of parenting and of working. I'm a huge multitasker. I have
Mhm.
3 screens going at the same time for all my computers. I have every productivity app that you can imagine, and I have systems in place to let me do everything at once because that's my learning and working style. And some people love to do the Pomodoro style, where you focus on just one project for 25 minutes and then you move on to the next project for 25 minutes. But the fact that you've been able to raise your daughter to be, as best a wife as you can be, to be a corporate executive, to work for Prospanica on the side, and everything that you do with the Latinista, I have to thank you for everything that you do. You're incredible. And then you're a webinar guru.
Thank you, Yai. No, I think it just comes naturally. I think I'm passionate again about our community and continue to elevate, especially our Latinas. It just comes naturally and easily.
Yeah, and making time for it, like you said, integrating your life and making sure you stick to your calendar. When I started as an entrepreneur 2 years ago, I woke up every day at 6:30 and I rolled over and I was at my computer, and sometimes I would be on the computer for 16 hours straight, hustling. And I was like, I'm just going to, it's a numbers game for me. Other people may do it a smarter way. And I was like, I know the way I'm going to do it. And I'm going to send out 400 proposals today because I'm just fast. And it's just learning how you can best integrate your life. But for me, it was like Google Calendar, breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack, go for a run, go to Dunkin' Donuts, go to Trader Joe's, work for 16 hours. Like everything was in my calendar and I could do it all.
Yeah. I would agree with you. We're on the same boat. I would also say, I think I'm a creature of routine and I need routine, and I will be honest to share that, right now working from home, I'm struggling. Like, it has really impacted my job. My job requires me to travel to have across the US and do a lot of interaction, face-to-face interaction with different lines of businesses across the client. And it's been hard for me because a lot of that has been canceled. So I may have one or two things on my calendar and it's like, I'm not motivated to do that because I'm always like, I need this, I need speed. I need to be doing and shooting things off and checking the box and moving on. And now that I don't have that, I feel it's been quite challenging, but I'm going to work my own schedule and make it busy somehow. We'll see.
Yeah, and it's challenging too. We're also used to going into a conference room and being next to your boss and showing that you're invested and you're the first one there and the last one out. And now everyone's sort of on the same playing field. We're just online, right? So how do you stick out to your boss, especially in a new role that you're going above and beyond if they can't see you or hear you all day? They just kind of know you're there. Yeah. And you're home and you may be working or not. So it's challenging. I know that a couple of you have started new roles during this COVID time. And I've gotten a lot of questions from you saying, how do I stick out for my boss? How do I let them know that I'm working and I'm not just home watching TV? It's really hard.
Mm-hmm. Anyone want to share how you've been working? How are you doing working from home? There we go. Priscilla, it's rough. I'm with you.
I like that. Setting up your space. It's very mental, developing a strategy. Some people miss, like you, Rita, waking up, getting dressed, picking out your outfit, going into the office, getting Dunkin' Donuts, saying hello to colleagues, having your 2 monitors. You know what? Buy yourself a monitor and tell the company you need a monitor. Send them the link to the Staples, the $80 monitor. Be like, this is what I need to be an effective worker. This monitor, send it to my house. Yeah, the internet is challenging. My internet has crashed a couple times. For those of you who have kids at home and now you're teaching children and working, shout out to you guys. Like Hilda, my goodness, that is a challenge being a mom and working from home.
Getting dressed and doing her makeup, Josie or Joanne, I would agree. And maybe that's my problem. Today's the first day that I actually did a little bit of something. I'm just I just walked into a hole and like stayed there for the last 2 weeks. But
Yeah, that's challenging. So
yeah.
it makes you feel like such a put together person, right? So try to get into that habit. Wake up, take your shower, wash your face. Even if you don't put on makeup, maybe just put on mascara, maybe blow out your hair or just the
Right.
front like I did today. Um, just you feeling and smelling fresh and putting on mascara makes you feel productive, right? And if you need another monitor to make you feel efficient, tell your boss you need a monitor. Send them the link to that $80 monitor and say, I need this so that I can be an efficient professional. On
I
the
love
days I'm not feeling it, I put on my work outfit. So I'm forced to work out at some point and I'm already dressed for it. No excuse. I actually know a lot of people that sleep in their gym clothes so that when they wake up, they're like, at least I'm going to go walk around the block. I
yeah.
have no excuse. Oh, I'm cold. Literally, your tights are already on. You just go walk around the block. And once you're outside, you're like, oh, let me do a mile.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of great stuff. Well, we've come to the hour. Want to thank everyone for joining us. This has been great conversation and love the interaction and engagement on the sidebar. Is there any last few words that anyone wants to share? Joanne, thank you so much for all the tips that you were sharing.
Yeah, Lupita and Priscilla, I miss you. And Claudia and Argelia and Hilda, you with kids at home. Yeah, please tell us if there's anything that we can do to help you, if you're looking for work, if you're looking for any type of advice, if you're looking to be a subject matter expert at our next webinar, send us some information. Add Yoly Valencia on LinkedIn, add me on LinkedIn.
Also, I don't have it in front of me yet, but to continue the conversation, to continue to leveraging each other as resources, we have the Slack channel.
That's right, our Slack channel.
Sorry, I don't have the link in front of me. So we can always maybe reach out to all our attendees via email and share the email with a follow-up. Does that sound good?
We sure will. And what is your email, Yoly, so that I can type it in here?
YolyValencia5@gmail.
Perfect.
Thank you for that.
That way they can reach out to you and add you on LinkedIn.
And I see Mariana asking for the next cafecito. We usually try to have these once a month, but if other chapters, at least for Chicago, but if there are other chapters, that want to host additional ones, because again, we're all doing this at the side of our desk or dining room tables. We're open to it, and let us know if there are other conversations or topics that you'd want us to cover. We'd love to do it. I would say personally that this has really been invaluable to me. Just having this conversation with you all. Put on some lipstick today, and wow, I feel good. So I hope that you guys will all walk away feeling awesome and fabulous and ready to conquer the day.
Yeah, thank you so much, Yoly. We're going to, like Joanne mentioned, that's a great idea. Share an email for everyone who registered with some of the tips that Yoly mentioned, as well as some of the ideas that I shared via email, and add us on LinkedIn. And if you want to host our next cafecito together, please reach out to us via email. We're also going to share our Slack channel, our Facebook group in the email, so you'll be able to follow us there and keep in touch. Happy Friday. I hope you have an incredible, healthy, safe weekend. Get out and go to the park, run around, get some exercise and get your heart pumping. Call some friends and check up on them and see how they're doing, and hopefully they're all staying safe and healthy.
I'm so happy to hear everyone's feeling pumped. Cheers with our coffee.
Thank you so much, Yoly. I appreciate you.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a great day and weekend.